this is Leaf related. True Living did some media avails. And he's talked about, they're looking at top 6 options, but what does that cost? But we've talked about that. What I want to talk about a little bit more is Morgan Rielly. It's interesting because we have talked about the fact that Brad and Morgan actually sat down at the end of the season. And that's not new. Players and general managers do that every year.
Yep.
But this one seems to be very different. Josh Chloe did an article on it in The Athletic. And basically, both Brad and Morgan said this needs to go better. This was the worst year of your career.
I mean, it had to. There were 2 options. We can trade you, to which he said, no, you cannot. Or you just simply need to be better. Mm-hmm. The easier one is actually just be better.
Rielly says you're honest with him and he's honest with you, and you can either keep it there or go easy on yourself and just go to the golf course. I told him some things about who I am, who I think I am, and who I want to be and how I want to play. In my mind, if you do that to a person that you trust and like working with, you have to hold yourself accountable. I can't tell Tree all these things and then slack off. I'd be a little foolish. I was disappointed with the way last season went, so I took it upon myself to answer the bell. I've had to come to terms with the fact that I was disappointed in myself and the fact that it's a hard thing to admit sometimes for a grown-up, and there's not a lot of examples in my life where I've really felt that. And he went on to mention that, as we suspected, and this happens to every new parent, having a kid around is harder than you'd think.
It changes your life.
Your whole life. And Rielly says he credits the conversation with Treliving for with waking him up, and he challenged himself to do better. So one of the things that they talk about in this is that Morgan had Instagram, and he deleted it before they went on a vacation, like he and his wife and son. And he's just not having it back. He wants to be intentional, all about this season. And you laugh. Oh, he deleted Instagram now. But you guys, you know how much scrolling takes up our time, right?
I mean,
and he was at
so it's not about posting; it's about scrolling. Consumption. That's
how much time was you spending on it?
Even smarter, honestly.
And he said that was just one thing, but it's. I think part of a bigger picture is he was there basically every day this summer. Right. At the training facility, lost weight, trained very, very hard. So I'm curious. The first question I had was for Jesse. How does he look?
He looks good.
Yeah.
He was down 6 pounds. I think we talked about that. And he was asked about being down 6 pounds and he didn't want to talk about it. Masters asked him, like, hey, so we saw you were down 6 pounds. And he's like, and then he was like kind of shaking his head. And he's like, oh, am I barking up the wrong tree? So he doesn't want to talk about these things publicly. I assume like the article is very good and what's going on behind the scenes. And I think like more important to him than the weight and the change in diet and the sleep routine is the part where he talks about how he's changed the psychology of how he looks at the game and the mental side of things, because Clokey writes that he's been playing hockey and training since he was a teenager, right? Mm-hmm. You know how to do this thing, you know the game of hockey, but what got lost along the way was the mental side of the game. So he's devoted more time to the hockey psychology part of it. And I think that's going to really help Morgan, because last year he struggled from an on-ice perspective, and you get lost in yourself when you know how to play hockey, but you can't kind of do it. And it's in there. He just kind of needs to figure out the mental side and how to get it out of himself. So dedicating 3 months to just re-loving the game and relearning it and devoting himself to how the coach now wants him to play, I think is going to be spectacular for his game.
It's got to be such a challenge to have to think so hard about something that used to come naturally. Like I have a lot of time for Morgan Rielly as a guy. I have faith in him to get through this. And like physically, people forget he's kind of a beast. Like he doesn't exactly play the most intimidating game. So you might not think of him that way. But like this is a guy who, do you remember those videos of when he was younger of him clearing 6 foot, like high jump?
No, I don't.
Like flat footed. Like he was a monster.
Yes, you remember those?
I can honestly say I've never seen that video or even know it exists.
It's true.
I'm
But that's
sorry,
why we
Steve.
have you, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why you're here.
Yeah. No, I remember those videos of athletes should post more random videos of them just accomplishing freakish things off the
Well,
ice.
have you seen the Steven Stamkos deadlift video? Where it's
Yes.
700 pounds or something?
Yes.
Yeah, insane.
One of the things, like, there was a player who was the 20th overall pick, which is a pretty high pick, or he was around 20th, and that's fine, but it helped make him a noteworthy prospect that he could flat-footed jump out of a pool.
That's crazy.
Is Chris Kreider.
Chris Kreider could jump out of a pool.
Chris Kreider could jump out of a pool when I'm pretty sure he was like a rookie in the NHL or a sophomore, maybe even still in the U.S. program. And yeah, he's incredible at hockey. He's had this great career. But at the beginning of his career, that was sort of, let me pay a little bit more attention to Chris Kreider. Morgan Rielly can leap like a friggin' cat. There was this highlight from very early in his career. Puck's coming above his head at the blue line, and you know those pictures of a cat and like their spine just elongates like a slinky?
Yeah.
He did that as like he's a pretty beefy boy. As a physical specimen, like Morgan Rielly's pretty gronked. So I'm not surprised that the challenge was mental. He's battled injuries throughout his career. It doesn't really sound like that was the case last year.
I think it was a systems issue.
Yeah,
He
and
had to
so
play a different style.
I know a lot of people are done with him and they want him gone and everything.
I was the guy saying that, but if he plays differently this year,
but
I'll be happy with it.
You weren't alone at all. And I'm on your side in that if he does that again, they're not going anywhere. Like he can refuse a trade forever, but
You have
if
to
he
get
continues to play like that, the Leafs are not winning.
It was the worst season of Morgan Rielly's career from an on-ice perspective. He was lost out there, and I thought his playoff performance was very poor, especially in the Game 7,
Yeah.
where he was a large part of the whole team was the reason they lost. I'm not going to hang it on Rielly, but he was a big part of the team that lost that game
Wasn't
and
it the
lost
first
that
goal?
game completely. Yeah, he had a whole bunch of defensive mistakes.
Yeah.
Like he wasn't good solid. He wasn't solid in that game, and I don't think he was solid during the playoff run. But it seems through this that he's acknowledged that,
Yeah.
and he's come to the conclusion that he needs to be better at hockey. Like he needs to be a better hockey player, and at 31, rededicating himself to the nuances of the game is great to see.
Yes.
Now let's see it translate to a full season on the NHL ice. So hopefully he can do that.
This is part of why when they first were talking about like ideas for how the Leafs can get better, they're like, they could trade Brandon Carlo. And I was like, no, why? No, you just spent a lot to get him. First of all, a first and bloody Fraser Minton. But like this guy, because he's under contract, is Morgan Rielly's D partner for the next few years while McCabe plays with Tanev. Like their whole top four is just
Well, and Morgan Rielly's numbers instantly got better once Carlo showed up, which is such a credit to Carlo and the type of game he plays.
because Rielly played most of the season with like Philip Myers, who I like, but why are they playing together?
Yeah.
In a top four role? What happened there? On purpose?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I know there's ways of finagling that and special teams and whatever, but I don't think anyone's in the right position to succeed.
Well,
there.
I think how they saw it was when they signed OEL, it's going to be Rielly, Tanev, McCabe, OEL.
That's what we all thought.
And then
Rielly
Berube
played
was like, what if I just put the two defensive guys together and they could shut anybody down?
Rielly played with Tanev for like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it didn't work, whatever it was. So, but it works with Carlo. They've got a strong defensive core, which again is first time I can say that in 25 years. I'm curious about what a training camp and full season of Morgan Rielly and Brendan Carlo looks like, because you know when Jake McCabe showed up, I loved him instantly, but he had some rocky moments in the Tampa series and in the Florida series in 23.
He didn't have the best start.
The next year, and also they were like Morgan Rielly was playing out of his mind in those series, but then he got injured, and so like Jake McCabe's running the power play, which isn't fair. Yeah. That's on Kyle Dubas. When I look at the way that Jake McCabe played the next year and last year, with full training camps and being a part of the system, and that's two different head coaches, he was instantly like a go-to guy on defense for both coaches.
I didn't know he was this good.
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
And so, you know, when people are hard on Scott Lawton, when people were hard on Brendan Carlo for some reason, I thought Carlo was awesome. Yeah, people were weird about some of the pickups last year. Carlo's really good, and if you're listening to somebody who says he's not and didn't add to the team, stop listening to them.
Carlo wasn't good the first couple of weeks he was a Leaf. He struggled to get comfortable with the Leafs, and he didn't have a first, I want to say, like 10 games.
And then
eventually he settled in.
I think
so there was concern after acquiring him because you paid such a high price and he's not fitting in. But then afterwards, he definitely settled into his role.
The team bears the brunt of the responsibility for how neurotic this fan base is. We would not be this way if they didn't keep losing. But I will say there was a disproportionate amount of Leaf fans who evidently 2025 was their first trade deadline. And it was weird. Why isn't this guy amazing immediately? Because that's rarely how it ever works. Not everyone's Owen Nolan. Stop.
Yeah.
And Owen Nolan was hurt.
Yep.
They acquired a hurt guy. Then he got 2 goals in his first game, and guess what? We're winning the cup. No, you didn't. Give it a sec. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that's why I'm excited for Lawton. I'm excited for Carlo. I'm excited for what Morgan Rielly can be with Brandon Carlo. Because as we said last year going into the playoffs, it's the best defense partner he's ever had.
Easily.
So...
And, I mean, you could split them up.
No.
If you really need to do it. If you really needed to.
I guess, but let's not do that.
Well, I mean, okay.
Put him back with Myers.
No. Frig no. All I'm saying, sorry, the reason I say that is if Rielly is truly better this season, why not at least grant yourself the ability to revisit him and Tanev if you need to. Now, there's absolutely no need to.
What is the purpose of it? Because the Tanev McCabe line, it's like they're matching that against the best players. Like if you're going up against McDavid, Crosby, McKinnon, whatever, you want those guys out there as much as possible. What is the Rielly Carlo thing? What is that? So when you know, and I'm asking you both this question. When Berube puts them out there, what is his desire from those two?
The best D partner Rielly has had in terms of results, I would say, was Luke Shen.
Yeah.
And he just needs a stay-at-home guy, right? So not every pair is necessarily this is the shutdown pair, this is the offense pair or whatever. Like a part of, I mean, Cale Makar is Cale Makar, but it helps that he has Devon Toews back there. You know what I mean? It's not quite like Carlson and Mathot, but it's. I think people forget how gifted of an offensive player Morgan Rielly is. Like when we have the conversation about who needs to replace Mitch Marner's offense, honestly, I think a lot of it falls on Rielly. And for him to have, I think it was 40-plus points last year, and we're all pretty unanimous, and it was his worst year of his career. I mean, that shows you what he's capable of. Right? So Carlo needs to be a rock back there, but Rielly also can't just be running around. It's got to be smart passes up the ice.
As of 17-18, his points are as follows. 52, 72, 27, because he played a short amount of games, in 27 and 47 games, 35 and 55, 68 and 82, 41, 58 and 41.
That's a really good career.
Yeah.
So there's the give and take of Toronto is like, okay, he hasn't accomplished anything, right? Hasn't been to a conference final even. You know, I don't know where he's ever finished in Norris voting. For a defenseman, that's a crazy career
and puts up good points in the playoffs too.
Yes. He's had a very, very good career for a defenseman so far. But you got to do other things to get better results.
Jesse, are you seeing are you like, here's my question with them. Their deployment, are they going to be with the first line, or is that a Tanev McCabe thing and you have Morgan Rielly feeding to a William Nylander?
The Rielly Carlo pairing,
yeah,
will go with the second line.
Yeah, where do you think they? Because I like with defense pairing, we know the top four, but they have different roles. So like defense 1, defense 2, I'm not like really worried about like where they rank.
Yeah.
But where do you see him on a 5-on-5? Obviously in the power play, he's going to be running it.
Totally. Like I don't know if Berube's too particular with which defense pairing is playing with which forward group. Like, I assume the McCabe-Tanev pairing is going to start the games. Like, actually, probably for the first one, you'll probably have Rielly out there just for the first game, with the A on his chest. You probably want him, that pair out there with the first line with Matthews and all that, just for the thematics of it all. But Berube kind of asked the same thing out of all of his players on the ice, from the forward group to the defense, and just play within your structure, stick to the system, play low event hockey, and then capitalize on the mistakes. And Rielly, I think, did a poor job at capitalizing on the mistakes and knowing when he had to play offensively. So if this year they're all going out there, all three pairs, and they're just staying within their system, playing their structure, like, I think you'll be happy deploying whichever pair against whichever line combination.
To go with what I was saying about Rielly's career, 9 defensemen, have 500 or more points since Morgan Rielly entered the NHL, and he's one of them. He's 8th. The group is Erik Karlsson and Victor Hedman, Roman Josi, Brent Burns, John Carlson, Chris Letang, Alex Pietrangelo, Morgan Rielly, Drew Doughty.
It's a pretty good group.
It's a pretty good group. Anyone want to take a stab at who is 10th, landed at 495 points, just retired?
Just retired.
Just retired. There's your clue. You actually already mentioned him on the show.
Oh, I have no idea.
Tyson Barrie.
Oh, okay. All right. No, good for him. Okay.
So there's more to it than just points,
Yeah, 100%.
but that's a lot.